RevOpsAF, the only podcast for people who are RevOpsAF and want to learn all about things that are RevOps AF.
Our goal is to give the revenue operations community, that includes marketing, sales, and CS, for any of you not paying attention, the skills needed to accelerate their careers.
Hello and welcome to RevOpsAF, the podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Kamala Thompson, and today I am joined by Roee Hartuv. Roee, please tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I started off in sales. Did that for like 15 years. Enjoyed it, climbed like the leadership ladder. But I found myself drawn more to setting up processes, setting up systems, than chasing after my team members. So I would say around 5 years, I went into advisory. So currently I'm a senior pricing advisor and leading the go-to-market expertise at Willingness to Pay. And basically what we do, we help startups translate product value into revenue. And I like to say that I now build revenue systems, and which means that I'm looking to build repeatable, sustainable processes that align mostly on pricing and packaging and go-to-market motions.
Perfect. So, how do I say this? There are so many things happening in the market right now, and you have a bird's eye into all of it. I feel like a lot of people are hyper-focused on AI right now. It's a good distraction. There's a lot of productivity there, but what are people missing? Where should they be focused?
I think AI is where we need to focus. Honestly, I just thought about this. I had a chat with a friend. I think I spend 6-8 hours this week just watching videos of how people are automating and building agents and trying to figure out how I can build that together. So I think that is where people need to focus on. I'm very happy because efficiency is sexy again. I've been trying to build systems and efficient and sustainable systems, and efficiency and productivity are the KPIs right now. And I do think that automation, DaaS and the automations that we all know, and now AI, which is going to increase the productivity and efficiency. As you said, there's a lot of noise out there. Everybody is now an expert and everybody's connecting and building agents, and there's a lot of noise. But we will figure it out, right? Like it's Gardner wave, right? And like we're at that peak right now. So everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's trying to build systems. Yeah. And some of us will get this right. So I think, that's the place to be. But what we're missing, you asked me what we're missing. I don't know if we're missing that, but we need to remember that all the AI, all the automation tools, it's all about having the right processes in place and getting the right data in place. If we don't have both, then it's the classical garbage in, garbage out. So don't forget that, whoever's like trying to build, implement, focus on efficiency.
Yeah, and I think where I get frustrated is it's human nature to try to throw things at the biggest problem we have without making sure the foundation is solid enough. So, for example, cold outbound and AI, the research part, phenomenal, but if you don't understand your customers, you don't have the message, then you're just blasting people with nonsense. So where are some areas you think that instead of these huge problems, and it is a big problem that I'm thinking of personally, but where do you think people should be focusing in more to delight the customer? Maybe not AI chatbots all the time. Where's another area we could maybe focus on?
There are two promising areas that I think are the low-hanging fruits in terms of how to use AI. So first of all, customer support or customer service. We all have been there. How do I reset my password, or my API connection is dead? How do I set it up again, etc.? All these troubleshootings that currently we need to open a ticket and wait for somebody in a different country to get back to us and help solve the problem. That's the first thing that is going to be done. It's currently already in motion. It's going to be solved with AI That's an easy one. That's like something that I think we as customers are willing to talk to an AI to try to fix the problem. And it's a better solution than just waiting for somebody from a different country with an accent to try to solve our problem.
So where I was headed is a lot of operational people, they do focus on troubleshooting, team handoffs, those sort of things. We don't always focus on the order process or how customers think about purchasing products and what kind of pricing structures make sense to them. For example, I worked with the CEO, and I swear he'd just sit in this room and dream up all of these amazing ways to package products that we couldn't replicate in a CPQ tool or anything because it was so complicated. Do you think there's a big opportunity there that we're just kind of missing right now?
So I think the key is what you said around packaging. And I'm a pricing and packaging expert or advisor, but if it was up to me, we would have turned that around. It was packaging and pricing. Packaging is the first thing that we need to solve. And packaging around jobs to be done or business impact, value proposition, this is the right way to go. And I've seen that many companies either just focus on pricing and don't know what they're doing in terms of packaging around the different products. Right, so we all know these examples, right? A company buys other companies through M&A, acquires different companies, and all of a sudden they have 3 different products. And they treat that as separate products, and this is where we have a lot of operational debt, because the sellers need to know how to sell 3 different products, and the customer success, support, and when you look usually how much products customers buy, it's usually 1, at most 2. But it's all about getting the packaging right. So can we package around the value proposition, the jobs to be done on the customer side? And then I believe that that will help streamline a lot of the things down that value path.
So maybe we talk through a couple examples, because I know a lot of revenue operations people, they're sitting at their desk, they get the Slack message from the CEO, and they say, I've heard about this value-based pricing thing from my board, and we need to figure out how to do that. And then we just sit there going, I don't even know what that means yet. Yeah. So maybe we can talk through some examples of how we package around value.
Yeah. So again, let's start off with the problem. We build a product and then we add additional features. In some cases, if we do it properly, we build around what the market and the customers are telling us. So we add more and more features. And hopefully that's around the jobs to be done, what the customer wants or needs, and what are their problems and how do we help solve that. In a lot of cases, it's not really like that. The product team goes in different directions because whatever that, and they lose track of what is actually the customer is trying to solve. And the goal of packaging is to be able to serve different use cases, different jobs to be done, right? So let's use the classical example, the medium and best, right? These are the different packages. So let's say I have product, and that product, I just want the very simple features. I don't need security features. I don't need AI features on top of that. That's like a simple job to be done. This is what I want. I might want that packaging. And then I have a different segment of customers that they want to do more things. So they need an admin to be able to differentiate between different users. I want more API integration options. I want whatever that might be. That's like the better option, the better packaging. And I want the full-blown enterprise grade using AI and premium support, etc. That's like the third package. So this is how we think about packaging, and it's all around what the customers want to get. So again, I just need the simple, basic stuff, or I need all the way security and all that top everything that the enterprise kind of segment requires. So that's how I would approach that.
So then you're done, right? You can just set it and forget it. Or how do you test and iterate on this? How do you recommend people think about it?
So we start off with getting the packaging right. And we build different packages for different customer segments. Once we do that, we then go and decide on the pricing model. And the pricing model is, are we basing on usage? Are we basing on seats? On the number of API calls? Whatever that might be, this is how the next level that we need to define. And then the third level, which is usually the last level, is basically how much dollars and cents are we charging for each one of those elements. Of course, once we do that, we launch a new pricing and packaging, but a lot of companies forget that, like a lot of things in go-to-market, you need to constantly evaluate your pricing and packaging. And you need to update them. Why? Because we're working in very complex ecosystems, right? The competitors are launching new stuff. They're iterating. They're changing their value propositions. The market, our funding, the maturity of our company, our customers, all that requires us to periodically check our pricing and packaging. So it's one of those things that most companies don't. They set pricing and packaging early on and never go back. I wouldn't say never, but they don't go back and test it. And when they do, they increase like a flat increase of 5-7% year over year, which is good. However, there's a better approach there.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if part of the hesitation, I remember a lot of times when we talk about a pricing update to existing customers, the customer success team would get extremely nervous and try to veto that change.
Yeah.
What have you seen companies think through and do to help mitigate the customer backlash? Mm-hmm. Or do you just plan for a percentage of customers that, well, we want to keep them, so we're just going to...
Yeah. So when we work on migrating existing customers to new pricing and packaging, it starts off with validation and testing it out. So first of all, we want to test it out with new customers. So before we even talk to our existing customers, that of course we want them not to freak and churn, we want to test this out with new customers. And based on the feedback that we get, we know if we increased our pricing, let's say by 50%, and we're still able to sell it to the same type of customers, well, we know the willingness to pay exists. So first of all, that's the first validation, the first test that we do before we start talking to our customers. Then, common practice in customer success, we need to create different segments of our existing customers. And we could do it by how long have they been with us? How likely will they churn if we increase prices? Big companies, what is their price sensitivity between the other type of segments that we do? And then we basically have different groups of customers. And we create plays for each one of those segments. So the ones that we know, hey, they've been with us for 5 years, there's no way they're going to churn. They've been paying the price that we set 5 years ago, we haven't changed it for them, so they're underpaying. Then we also treat the different segments differently. Usually the smaller one, the long tails, we just send out an email. Hey, in your next renewal cycle, we're going to increase the pricing to this. For some segments, we get the customer success manager in the QBR or 3 months ahead of the renewal. Some companies, we will not increase the pricing immediately. We will give them, hey, this is the new pricing and packaging because you're a loyal customer and we want to have you stick with us. We will do a 2-year transition. So the first year we're just going to increase by 25%, and then in 2 years from now it's going to be 50%, allowing you to evaluate whether you want to leave. And in some cases we bring in the head of customer success. We might bring in even the CEO. Like our biggest accounts, we bring additional executive people to support us. We don't leave the customer success team alone. All these activities and risk mitigation activities that we have allows us to make sure that we do the best in order for our customers not to churn.
So what I like about what you said too, especially as a revenue operator, is you're using this as an opportunity to get all of the departments touching the customer in sync. You're not just changing the price. I think a source of frustration for me is in small founder-led companies, sometimes it feels like the CEO goes off, they start thinking, and then they come out and just, here's what we're doing. And then I see a lot of chaos come out of that. How do you think companies should start thinking about getting the different teams in sync, like legal and accounting? A lot of times we neglect to talk to them and really talk to them about why we're doing this and why it's a good strategic move for the company.
Mm-hmm. They usually love these. Well, they don't like setting up the new CPQs and billing systems and the new contracts if we do change our pricing model. But eventually, after they do this, they really like this, because what we usually see is we have different cohorts of customers. Some pay the legacy kind of pricing, and then at some point we did increase our pricing and had new contracts. So the second cohort is working according to a different contract, and then some place. So we have different cohorts. Each one, the CSM teams, listeners know what I'm talking about. The RevOps, the operational team knows what I'm talking about. So we have different segments of customers that all operate differently, different contract, different pricing. After we do this, they all follow one type of pricing and packaging. Hopefully we do a good enough job and they all have one type of customer. And usually it takes a year, because we usually migrate our existing customers on renewal. But after that year of migration, everybody is aligned and we cut that operational debt. So at the end of the day, these supporting teams really like that, and that really solves a lot of headache that they have.
Yeah, I recently heard a Forrester stat. I believe 87% of customers express dissatisfaction with their buying process.
Yeah.
This seems like a big piece of fixing that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a statement and not a question. It just seems like a really good idea, and we should do this to help fix part of that problem. But you're mentioning getting all of the teams in sync and communicating proactively with the customer. I imagine customers, the last thing they want to hear is, guess what, your price is increasing just out of the blue. So how do you advise companies to get in front of surprising customers about a pricing change? Maybe they're usage-based pricing, they're going to move up a tier. What's a best practice when you're dealing with that kind of scenario?
So the best practice is to come prepared, right? And we expect the customer success managers, account managers, or whoever's supporting them to think of all the different objections that they might hear and come prepared to answer those objectives. And if we do that thoughtfully, and if we come prepared, that's most of the problems we solve it by just doing this.
Yeah, talk tracks are so critical. But I'm also wondering, full circle moment, if there's an opportunity for AI to look at patterns in usage and start predictive modeling and alerting both the customers and the customer success team proactively. So let's stick with our usage-based pricing tier, and we see they're trending towards another tier. Have we seen any automation successfully implemented that's warning everybody ahead of time instead of just, surprise, you're on a new tier?
I have seen AI around customer health. Well, customer health, the good companies out there that have enough resources were able to add automation. I have seen at least one company that has tried to implement AI in order to predict customer health and predict retention and expansion probabilities. But you touched on using AI in pricing, and that's a fantastic point because I predict everybody's now focused on usage-based pricing. I think Salesforce introduced usage-based on their AI agents, but I'm more excited about, or I'm predicting that there will be adaptive pricing in the future. So when you think of it, pricing right now, we have a standard pricing and it's one too many kind of pricing. Like we have this package, this pricing model. We change it maybe according to your usage. However, using AI, we'll be able to do adaptive pricing based on the persona that we're talking about, the usage, the intent, the potential impact. And this is where I see the biggest change in terms of AI and pricing together.
Yeah, and now I'm talking to all the developers out there. If you could figure out how to tell when I drop off usage on a product and proactively message me and say, hey, you want to move down a tier? That's a happy camper. I think we're onto something. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we tell people where to find you to network?
Coming back to the legal and accounting, there's something that we talked about in the preparation that I think it's worth mentioning. There's a misalignment in terms of KPIs between the supporting teams and the actual commercial team, the actual sellers, right? Because when you think of it, legal, accounting, security teams, their KPI is around risk avoidance.
Yep.
Our KPI as commercial teams is revenue. Just close the deal. For them, no, let's not rush. We need to slow down. We need to mitigate the risk. Everything to ensure that we're not taking bad debts and putting the company at risk. So there's this misalignment in KPIs. Yeah, like there's no like magic solution here. It's just to be able to make sure that they're both aligned in the common goals of the company. But that is the root cause of that friction that we have between the supporting teams and the sellers. One is, I want this as fast as possible. Let's just close the deal. And the other is, hey, let's pause. Yeah, we need a few more iteration around getting the contract right and making sure that everything is aligned before we can actually commit. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to be even more cynical because I see, especially at smaller companies that contract out, there are times where I'm like, are you just in it for billable hours legal? Because it's been 5 days and we're going to lose the contract. I keep making my job bigger in revenue operations, but proactively identifying things that are commonly redlined, maybe pushing back on marketing when they want to add a clause every time to use their logo because that's the first thing that gets crossed out. I think there's opportunities, even if we can't change legal's goal to be revenue based, because we do need risk management. Can we maybe get involved a little bit more and identify the sticking points that are hanging everybody up? I don't know. There's got to be a better way to do this, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, where can people find you and network with you?
Yeah, of course. LinkedIn, best place. If you want to get my pricing checklist template, just DM me on LinkedIn. And we've got a ton of information and materials on our websites. That's willingness2pay.com. If you are thinking of running a pricing and packaging project, we've got you covered. So you've got videos and templates that you can use. Yeah, check this out.
Wonderful. And we'll be sure to include those in the show notes. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode, everybody.
For more great content like this, join our community at RevOpsCoop.com and check out the links provided in the show notes.
Keep it RevOpsAF, y'all.